No, this is not a joke, we're actually doing this. The murder of Sonic the Hedgehog came out on April's Eve, 2023, and everyone thought it was a laugh-out-loud meme, until they played it, and oh shit, there's a game in here. I've never played this thing, but I figured for this Fool's Day, I would give it a go. And let me tell ya, I was hooting and hollering all the way through. I wanted to make this thing a first impressions vid, but today is the day of the Fool, goddammit, so we're doing a level analysis too. We'll tackle this thing chapter by chapter, train by train. We'll circle some things in red and get way too in-depth about some PNGs. Also, I'm gonna be spoiling the hell out of this game, so hey, why don't you go play it for yourself? It's free online and won't take you long. And when you're done, you can click back onto this video and hear my stupid thoughts. On with the show! Chapter 1. Roll out the red carpet. First order of business, fill out your name tag. Remember to capitalize or else it'll look real annoying. You can hit him with the "My name is Sonic" or Mr. Poop, but for the rest of this video, I'm gonna refer to this guy as Barry, as that seems to be his canon name. And it should, because you aren't given many options to evolve your own personality into Moss, which can make the name tag a little odd. Barry absolutely has his own quirks that makes it feel like you're playing as someone specific rather than yourself. And in the end, that was the correct move. I think a lot of Barry's dialogue is hilarious, and his inner monologue really colors him in as his own character. Barry is nebbish in his outward portrayal, but much more confident in his own mind, which you can let flourish with the right dialogue options. And my favorite thing about Barry, he's a nobody, and he knows no one. It's a little strange, considering all the big events in Sonic lore, but Barry gets to meet all these characters for the first time during Chapter 1. The introductions are all very playful and felt appropriate to the heroes. You also meet your boss too, the conductor, jolly old fellow who loves his train and is set to retire after one last ride. The train also has arms, don't ask questions. Otherwise, Chapter 1 is pretty simple. Grab the tickets from the cast, annoy them with the menu, and let Amy lay out the rules. Birthday Girl is running a murder mystery. It's Amy's birthday, by the way, I forgot to mention that. Happy birthday, Amy. With everyone in their own little roles. But as soon as she finishes, the train unexpectedly launches forward and sends everyone tumbling towards the floor, where we soon wake up in Chapter 2, The Closet Conundrum. So this is basically a tutorial on how the game is played. You find clues in the environment and then interrogate the subjects, with a bit of auto-running to unlock the big answers. These are mandatory, as just talking won't get you through here. But if you find the minigame tough, there are options to tone it down in the settings. But what of the closet? Tails is your partner on this adventure, and he tells you to start digging. And the job isn't tough. Other chapters have you panning across the car, but the closet is fixed in one angle. Hover over items and look for the green sparkle. You'd think they'd go full Dragon Ball here and really outline the interactables, but the stroke is pretty thin for a lot of these, except for this tutorial, as your main piece of evidence is obvious to assist the player. But we gotta interrogate the birthday girl, cause she's acting suspicious. You line up 2 pieces of evidence, play 2 rounds of the Dream Gear, and finally wring the truth out of her. Amy snapped her hammer on the bookcase to get us out of here, and was too embarrassed to admit it. Alright, someone handcuff her. So Chapter 2 teaches us all the mechanics. Find clues, tie evidence, kill 6 batteries. It keeps the space narrow, literally putting us into a closet, to keep the clues visible at all times. It pulls a neat little trick by keeping the main piece of evidence out of the visible light and behind the only character in the scene, so it at least requires a bit of perception. But once we leave the closet and find a very sleepy Sonic, we get our title card. Sonic is dead in Minecraft, which means the game has begun. Amy rushes off to win first prize, and we are off to our first real level. Chapter 3, The Salty Saloon. How tough am I? I forgot to capitalize my name at the start and only cried for 30 minutes. The saloon car is our next crime scene, reminiscent of the one and only Mirage Saloon Zone. And look who it is, Knuckles, who is charmingly staying in character. Well, for a little bit. Clocking the broken arcade cabinet probably tells you the whole story, but again, it's a bit hidden behind the character in the scene. Crafty, but not difficult with the yellow buzz. You get chunks of yellow in the cabin, but the electricity in the darkness calls it out. Our other big clue is this trio of glasses, with some lipstick caught on the edge. Stroked up, but not individually. The overlapping objects are not stroked, but the splotch of red throws it off. Tails will tell you when you have found what you need, but you can continue poking around the cabin, or chatting up the cast. Why not compliment Knuckles on his OVA hat? Healthy and unsinged. So, wouldn't you know it, the Echidna got mad and busted up our cabinet. That's because he lost a Vector. Yikes. Rouge also waltzed in and made out with the cup, so that's our info for now. This cabin also feels more like a tutorial, but with the added pressure of the setting, as now the game has really begun. Having your first big suspect be the hothead adds drama to your line of questioning, and you're introduced to a lot of moving pieces between the characters. Keep that head on a swivel, Fox, as we're on to Chapter 4, The Bard and the Butcher. Having fun isn't hard when you got the library car. We catch Amy shaking down 2 of our Chaotix members. Pretty sure Charmy is in cargo. At least we poke some holes, I think. Vector, a butcher, and Espio, a poet. Hey look, dried blood. They can bleed. we can kill it. Now we gotta interrogate 2 animals at the same time, but there's no mechanical differences. Their interrogations are just folded into each other. Vector also folds immediately, so the real suspect here is Espio, the chameleon. This was actually the one investigation in the game that made me think. It deals a lot with movement and eyesight. You gotta use the map of the room to help contextualize yourself. This is also the one train car where all the clues are inferred from the environment. You get a brochure from the stand, a lock from the door, and a book from the shelf, but none of those things are highlighted or visible in the background. You only get them through searching. You also have to go against Tails in the interrogation. He gets a bit too big for his britches, and you need to correct him to avoid stumbling down the wrong line of questioning. Espio says he only saw Vector leave for the saloon, but never mentioned Shadow walking by. To back up Espio, you must place him in an area where he couldn't see anything, and this alcove here is your best bet. My little nitpick here is you don't actually see that bookcase in the environment, so you have to assume from the map. I think having that horizontal bookcase visible could have been a fun lead for the player, especially because Vector chills next to it with his back turned. What if you only caught it when he left the area to talk to you? Like, your big clue would be revealed in the background during your simple chat with Vector, you know? But I'm just being an ideas guy. Anywho, the library car contained the best mystery for me. Plus, you got some poems from Espio too. Love it. But now we're moving on to a bit of action with Chapter 5. Railcar robbery. So, there is no investigation in the casino car. Instead, you work with Rouge and Blaze to steal a Fabergé Chow egg on the train. This was a fun diversion, with no Dream Gear segments to interrupt the bit. The gist is you gotta ride up an elevator and unlock a vault. Plan the heist together on a whiteboard, each step complemented with the signature Hedgehog style, a personal favorite of mine, I'm sure you can tell. The funniest part of this whole segment was the fact that you never even see the elaborate heist take place. You're just in the vault after you click the elevator. I don't even know if that was intentional or not, but it sure worked for me. Then it's time to steal the egg, which is actually a bomb. Uh-oh. You are overwhelmed by choices, each with their own funny dialogue interaction. But patience wins in the end, as simply waiting through a button press, not in-game, although that would have been very clever considering the amount of options you get, will allow the egg to open. Boom, we cracked the egg. Congratulations, everyone. Blaze will tell you that she witnessed Shadow stomping around, and that finishes the casino car. Even if this was the one segment without an investigation, it was one of my favorites, because each choice seemed to lead into a joke. None of it felt tedious for being all dialogue. I even picked a lot of wrong options here just to see the reactions. Also, it's nice to finally talk to Blaze again, after 40 billion years. Hello, cat lady, how's the dimension going? Quick question, where's Silver? Whatever. Let's mosey on down to Chapter 6. Free Wi-Fi. Ah, the lounge car. Where were you in Shadow Generations? We're now in step with Amy here, and together you try to get the ultimate life form to spill the beans. By the way, if you've ever seen pictures of this game and never played it, Shadow is not a barista, he is a locksmith. It was news to me. Anyways, this is the one area with like a legit clue. Opening the wardrobe reveals a secret compartment to allow you into the library. You access it through this thin pulley, but it's stroked the same as the wardrobe, so it blends in well. If you zoom in, they even put the dang shadow on it. If you're following along, there's kind of been an evolution on the clue presentation. The start is very visible with a heavy outline. Clues then morph into groupings that are not individually stroked. Soon the clues are completely invisible, and finally the clues are integrated completely with the environment. That's probably reading into it way too much, but you clicked on the Ajax video, not me. Anyways, digging through the trash reveals a printed webpage, and it's interrogation time. To cut to the chase, Shadow got no gift for Amy, so he tried to get some concert tickets, but he failed the QTE and printed out the webpage instead. He traversed the cabins and locked doors to stop Amy from finding out, but the jig is up, and that's the lounge car. There's a lot of other fun info building here, but I'm not gonna get too deep because I want to keep this video short. Essentially, Amy and Shadow decide to team up with you, and the 4 heroes march over onto Chapter 7, Materials of a Murder. It's my cigarette noise. Alright, let's crack this case wide open. The final cabin is similar to your first room, a cramped location with everything you need right in front of you. The big secret here is this suspicious blow dart and the vent high above. You can chat with the 2 hedgehogs, but soon Amy grabs the mic, unless you decide to beatbox into it first, and rallies the troops. But it turns out Sonic is still a bit sleepy from sleep poison, non-lethal. Someone's been playing this game too seriously, and it's time to find out who. Who murdered Sonic the Hedgehog? I'll be completely honest. I chose Amy on my first go, just in case they try to pull some Pietro bullshit on us again. But no! It could be none other than Espio, because he was clearly ready to go through the secret door in the library. He hit Sonic with the blow dart, had the arms move him from the conductor's car through the vents, and fed Amy some bogus lies. Who knew the detective would be good at a mystery. Come on, guys, really? You get a lot of dream gear here, which even had me failing sometimes. That being said, I love the backdrop of this final interrogation, because everyone was with you together. It was fun to see some finger pointing within the main cast of characters, with people making assumptions about each other. I also like how centering in on Espio also means you gotta deal with a protective vector. That was great. Also, Espio, my man, you're back in the spotlight. Rivals 2 was like 18 years ago. It was nice to see him as a central character again. I feel like you learn more about Espio here than in any other game. There's a lot more investigation facts that I won't waste your time with because Sonic the Hedgehog wakes up from his nap and reveals one more surprise. The train is actually a badnik working for Dr. Eggman. But before you know it, the train bites back and launches everyone out of the car. Uh-oh, time for one more surprise chapter. 8. Final Freight. Barry awakens far back with Sonic in the dining car, and soon meets Dr. Eggman on the screens. My favorite bit of this entire game is when Barry tries to backtalk the Doctor, and Eggman's like, "Dude, who even are you?" And I was like, yeah, who are you, Barry? Why would Eggman even know you? You get so wrapped up in the drama that it seems like Eggman is your big bad when it's really Sonic's responsibility. Anyways, guess what? It's smashing time. No investigations are made for the rest of the game, as our final chapter is situated around a lot of Dream Gear stages, back to back. And they're pretty tough. You gotta do an endless run to save your friends, and then another endless run to fight the final boss, which is the train. Anyways, emotional climax between train and conductor, Sonic saves the day, and Amy gets her cake. But what happens to Barry? He goes to space and then runs a supermarket. I think. It's up to you to choose. And that is the 8-part true crime Netflix miniseries on the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. And now that we've gone over how all these levels function, let's speak broadly about the experience as a whole, beginning with gameplay. Alright, take a breather. Sonic is not dead. Let's ask the big question. How are we gaming here? Well, a point-and-click adventure would be a very loose example. You never combine any items, and searching is aided by large green sparkles. How about the interrogation? Well, Tails does a lot of that for you. Your accusations aren't exactly diverse. You mainly pick one of the 3, and any failures are bounced back by the Fox. But there is a legit gamey game in here, and that's the Dream Gear. Before you make any grand accusations, you gotta do a little Subway Surfers on the iPad. Hop over hazards and collect rings. Miss out, and they roll you through the course again. These became a little tedious as the game went on because I was honestly biting at the story and the Dream Gear interrupted the fun drama. It was pretty awkward until the ending. When they combine all your evolving hazards onto one continuous track, then I was kinda digging it. Even the boss fight, which was just more surfing, wasn't too bad for me. In these final moments, I was glad they didn't give us any lives. Losing out and doing a full restart at the end here could have ruffled some feathers. I wondered if the Dream Gear was planned from the beginning or was asked to be put in. It seemed like something that was fit in after the story was completed. Like, right hefty conversation, insert minigame here. Distracting during the start, satisfying near the end. But this is all very specific nitpicks on the mechanics, because the real star of this game is the story. Let's be honest, you don't play this game to solve a murder mystery, you play it to hang out with Sonic's friends. And that's a-okay with me. I don't want to downplay the actual mystery here, it had some exciting twists and turns, and even got me in some cases. But the character writing is where it's at. When I put it into the context of a surprise April Fool's release, it makes a lot of sense. They don't want you stressing trying to guess the killer. They don't want you making a save and trying again tomorrow. The length should be short, it should be a single story all the way through, because they want you to beat it on that day, and talk about it online. I'm happy the mystery itself wasn't too dense, considering this. It holds your hand through a lot of it, but remember, these guys are the real star here. You're playing to talk to them. I also think what little original lore the game created was engaging. There was something bittersweet about the train kidnapping the conductor because he didn't want him to retire. It all worked for the shorter length of the experience. It wasn't just a skit. It had a clear beginning, middle, and end. I feel like leaning into the absurdity could have been an easy crutch for this game, so I commend them for taking it seriously. It may be a beach episode of the Sonic canon, but it's an episode nonetheless. And finally, I love this guy so much, I'm giving him his own little section. Barry! Barry, Avatar, Infinite, I'm meeting so many new friends this year. Barry the Quokka is such an absurd character, this anxious little guy who's apparently never read a newspaper. I love the setup that Barry knows nothing about the world of Sonic. It makes a lot of the introductions silly and impartial. Barry calls out a lot of characters, in his head obviously, on all of their quirks. He's also grounded. Barry has no superpowers. He can just microwave hot dogs and ask questions, and I love that for him. The writing in general was resourceful for how dialogue focused this game was. I feel feel like a good mark of quality for these types of experiences is how much they utilize basic actions to build upon the setting. You're encouraged to do simple things like ask about the menu or dig through a trash can, because you know you'll hear something funny and learn a little bit more about Barry himself. Every silly decision felt thought out, like they wanted to reward you for just hitting the back button. I was really curious who even wrote this thing, and was not surprised to see Ian Muchler in the credits. This dude has storyboarded for the series before, and his style of humor is right up my alley, and so is his art style. My stuff is 1000% inspired by him. I'm almost embarrassed to show examples because it puts my doodles to shame. I was always amazed how simple and hilarious Ian can make his caricatures. It reminds me of Don Hertzfeldt, another favorite of mine. I'm gonna link his Tumblr down below. Shout out to Ian Sr. But let's continue to talk about art and jump into that now. Yo, why is this game looking so good? IDW artist Min-Ho Kim took on a lot of the characters, and the portrayal of these guys feels right on the money. They look game accurate up close, and they keep themselves loose enough for more cartoony expressions. I like how louder characters were more expressive and the quiet ones were more subdued. And even from afar, the cast came off very soft, which kept the tone pretty fun. I found the objects readable, nothing felt unfair when searching for clues, and the game continued to crack jokes and make references through the backdrop. Ian Jr.'s picture frame and the music plant ad being highlights. The artwork here felt referential of the games and copied straight out of the comics. An A+ from me. That's an Atom+, which means instant failure, go see a doctor. But I want to talk about the music too, so let's do that now. We'll be brief here as well, but I wanted to bring it up because the streak of amazing Sonic soundtracks continues with this little jokey joke game. I found myself humming a lot of the tunes from this thing after completion. Speaking of that, you ever notice how the tune changes between the train cars? The interrogation one? Same with the backgrounds of the Dream Gear. Those are little details that I love. But my favorite bits was the Sonic pep talk anthem and the fact that they sorta do got a hard rock final boss theme in there for the train battle. It's Crush 40 adjacent and it thrives as its own little thing. I loved it. Hats off to Troop and Joel for keeping the soundtrack streak running. But let's end our own streak and conclude this foolish video. So, I love this little game for what it is. A hangout sesh with the Sonic cast. You get one-on-one time with everyone, set in a playful backdrop with a heartfelt story at the end. And I think they should absolutely do more of these. I'm kinda surprised they didn't. This format seems ripe for serialization, and the murder mystery was not some huge anchor. You can take these gameplay mechanics and translate them to any different scenario, because playing with the characters is the big draw here. On top of that, they should absolutely bring Barry back as well. Barry should be the protagonist in all of these hypothetical sequels. Barry's role as a new hire is malleable to any adventure. Sinking submarine, Barry was mopping the floors. Spooky graveyard, Barry was digging the holes. Dramatic castle siege, Barry step away from the trebuchet. This guy should just keep winding up with the heroes by accident every time. You could also bring in more side characters considering there's no voice acting. This seems like a perfect place to gently fold some IDW characters into the Gameoverse. It's a fantastic format, and I believe people would be hyped for more adventures. To wrap up here, I want to mention that Katie Kruzanowski, the social media coordinator for Sonic, spearheaded this project into development. I've been name-dropping a lot here, but it's to build up to my point that all the developers of this game feel like Sonic fans. People who grew up with the character and were delighted to finally work with him in an official capacity. And that's what the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog felt like to me. It felt like a really fun fan game that respected and honored the source material, which is the same exact feeling I got from Sonic Mania, one of the greatest Sonic games of all time. What I'm trying to say here is, you can tell when someone is absolutely loving what they're making, and that excitement translates right to the player. That's the magic of fan games in general. You see it all around the Sonic fandom. No one is making these things because they have to, they do it because they want to. The enthusiasm is almost an additional layer of appreciation. You can see yourself in their shoes half the time. You know you can have a hefty Sonic conversation with any of them. Although the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog is an official release, it still shines with the charm of a fan-made project, because I truly believe that fans of Sonic made it. It's endearing, playful, and elevated by the passion that pushed it up. So, it succeeds in what it's trying to be. And I hope that this is just chapter 1 before we get to Barry's supermarket showdown. Get down! And that's how we'll leave today's foolish little video. But I want to hear from you. What you think of this silly little game? And if you had to make a sequel, where would you set it? Who would be there? It doesn't even need to be a murder mystery. The world is your oyster. So as I said before, the next vid should be a classic level analysis. I'm still working on it right now. Got some background life things going on. Apologies if the uploads are sparse, but once I get more situated, I can really kick it back into high gear. For now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to rate Barry 5 stars on the app, and I'll see you next time. Peace!